Have you ever censored your true thoughts to avoid judgment? Or abandoned a passion because others deemed it impractical? Perhaps you've worn a mask so long you've forgotten your own face beneath it? These aren't mere social compromises. They represent what Friedrich Nietzsche called slave morality, the psychological chains we forge when we surrender our authenticity to gain others' approval. We spend our lives seeking validation, carefully calibrating our words and actions to earn acceptance. Yet in quiet moments of honesty, we feel the weight of this performance, the exhaustion of constantly monitoring ourselves through others' eyes. The approval we chase is a moving target that recedes as we approach it. And the price we pay is our own potential, the unique expression that only we can bring into the world. Today we're exploring what happens when you finally break free from this prison of others' opinions. This isn't about becoming callous or antisocial, it's about reclaiming your sovereignty in a world that demands conformity. When Friedrich Nietzsche developed his revolutionary philosophy in the late 19th century, he wasn't merely theorizing. He was waging a personal war against the suffocating social conventions of Victorian society and the religious dogma that had dominated Western thought for centuries. In works like Thus Spoke Zarathustra and Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche challenged the very foundations of morality and social order. He introduced the concept of the Übermensch, or Superman, not a physically superior being, but an individual who creates their own values rather than accepting those imposed by others. Before we delve deeper, if this resonates with you, subscribe to this channel for more philosophical content that challenges conventional thinking. Nietzsche observed that most people live in what he called the herd. They derive their sense of right and wrong, worthy and unworthy, from collective opinion. Their actions are guided not by personal conviction, but by the fear of disapproval and the desire for acceptance. This herd mentality isn't merely a social phenomenon, it becomes internalized. We develop an inner critic that speaks with the voice of collective judgment, constantly evaluating our thoughts and actions against external standards. Why do we surrender our autonomy to the herd? During childhood, approval is essential for survival. We quickly learn which behaviors earn acceptance from parents, teachers, and peers. This adaptation is necessary for social functioning, but it comes at a cost. Over time, this external validation becomes addictive. We measure our worth by others' reactions rather than our own standards. Our creative expression narrows to what will be well received. Our authentic voice is silenced by the fear of rejection. But Nietzsche identified a profound danger in this arrangement. When we live for others' approval, we never truly live at all. We become what he called the last man, comfortable, cautious, and utterly conventional. We sacrifice greatness on the altar of acceptance. What occurs when you finally sever the chains of external validation? Nietzsche identified three profound transformations. 1. The revaluation of all values. The first transformation is what Nietzsche called the revaluation of all values. When you stop measuring your worth through others' eyes, you must establish your own criteria for a life well lived. This is both terrifying and liberating. The familiar guideposts of social approval disappear, leaving you in uncharted territory. You must ask fundamental questions. What truly matters to me, independent of recognition? What would I create if no one was watching? What would I stand for if no one was applauding? This revaluation doesn't happen in an instant. It's a continuous process of questioning inherited beliefs and reconnecting with your authentic responses. You begin to recognize how many of your personal preferences were actually adaptations to gain acceptance. You may discover that accomplishments you once pursued hold little intrinsic value for you. Conversely, interests you abandoned because others deemed them worthless may resurface with renewed vitality. This revaluation extends to your relationships. You begin to value people who stimulate your growth over those who merely provide comfort or validation. You develop the courage to stand alone when necessary, knowing that authentic connection is impossible without authentic being. 2. Creative power unleashed. The second transformation concerns creative energy. Nietzsche believed that the highest human calling was creation, not merely artistic creation, but the creation of one's life as a work of art. When you're no longer exhausting your energy maintaining a socially acceptable facade, an enormous reservoir of creativity becomes available. The constant self-monitoring that consumed your mental resources comes to an end, freeing your mind for higher pursuits. This creative explosion isn't limited to traditional artistic domains. It manifests in how you approach relationships, work, and everyday challenges. Solutions that weren't visible within conventional thinking suddenly become apparent. You develop what Nietzsche called the will to power, not power over others, but the power to shape your own existence. Your communication transforms as well. No longer tailoring your expression to avoid offense or gain approval, your voice develops a rare quality of authenticity. Paradoxically, this genuine expression often resonates more deeply with others than your previous calculated performances. 3. Loving your fate. The third and perhaps most profound transformation is what Nietzsche called amor fati, the love of fate. When you stop seeking others' validation, your relationship with adversity fundamentally changes. The person trapped in the need for approval views difficulties as either unfair punishments or embarrassing failures to be hidden. Their suffering is compounded by the fear of judgment, the shame of imperfection, the desperate need to maintain appearances even in crisis. But when you release the grip of others' opinions, you develop the capacity to embrace the full spectrum of your experience, not just the parts that appear impressive or earn sympathy. You recognize that your struggles have forged your strength, your failures have enabled your growth, your peculiarities have shaped your unique perspective. This doesn't mean passive resignation to circumstance. Rather, it's an active affirmation of life in its totality, the capacity to say yes to your existence exactly as it has unfolded, with all its challenges and contradictions. Breaking free from the prison of others' opinions isn't a single decision, but a continuous practice. The pull of social validation remains powerful, especially in our hyperconnected world where approval has been quantified into likes, shares, and followers. Nietzsche's path is not for the faint of heart. It demands courage to stand apart, honesty to face your authentic desires, and resilience to weather disapproval. But the reward is nothing less than the reclamation of your existence. Remember that liberation from others' opinions doesn't mean isolation from others. In fact, Nietzsche believed that only those who have found themselves can truly connect with others, not from neediness or conformity, but from the overflow of their own self-possession. If this exploration has resonated with you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. What masks have you worn to gain acceptance? What creative expressions have you abandoned for fear of judgment? What might become possible if you release the need for approval? The journey Nietzsche invites us to undertake isn't easy, but it may be the only path to becoming who we truly are, not a reflection of others' expectations, but the unique constellation of possibilities that exists only in you.